All right, so I think we are now live. All right, guys, so welcome. This is our first live stream. This is history in the making. And I just want to start off by thanking everyone who has tuned into my channel these last couple of months, these last couple of years. When I started this channel, I just started for fun, just recording my day to day, the things that I was living through, traveling abroad, working on my business, leveling up myself in my career. But I really appreciate everyone who has tuned in, liked my videos, commented on many of my videos. I really appreciate it, guys. And to me, it means the world because I do this on my free time. And my biggest goal is to help out as many guys that were in the same position that I was when I was lost, when I didn't really know what I wanted for my life. Growing up, I grew up in the hood for a long time till I was around 12. My parents were immigrants and I had a rough upbringing at the beginning, but I've always had great mentors. I've always had great brothers, great family members that have always been around me. And for that, I'm always grateful. But I learned a lot through my experiences. And I try to show that through the content that I make. But recently, I added a poll on my community on YouTube. And I asked you guys what type of content you wanted me to keep dropping. What was something that was more relevant for you? What from the content that you've seen, the content that I've dropped in the past, what has actually benefited you? And a lot of people replied on that poll that they wanted more productivity content, content that was around making more money, using your time correctly, maximizing everything that we talk about in this channel, which is meat, money, energy, attention, and time. And I think that's what I'm going to tailor my content from this point going forward. So I really appreciate everyone who answered that poll. And today we have a really good video. We're going to be talking about the biggest things that I saw when I was living in the US as far as productivity is concerned. I think that a lot of people in the US are distracted. A lot of people everywhere are distracted, even here in Colombia, which is a location that I'm currently at. And when I was living in Mexico, a lot of people are distracted by the media, by sports, by a lot of different things that take away from their productivity. So in this video, I want to talk about Plato's allegory of the cave. This is something that I stumbled across when I was back in high school, a junior knucklehead in high school. And it was a big eye-opening experience for me. At the time, I really didn't think about it too much. I had a great history professor my junior year. Shout out to Mr. Hoffman. This guy was a badass motherfucker, and shout out to him wherever he's at. I learned a lot from his class, but he's the first one to introduce me to this concept of Plato's allegory of the cave. And the main thing from this teaching from Plato is that society is distracted. They're distracting you in different ways. Back during the Roman Empire, people were distracted by the Colosseum, the the gladiator games. The Roman Empire was falling, but a lot of people were distracted by what was going on because of the entertainment that they were getting from the Colosseum, the gladiator games. Even though they were getting invaded by the Germanic tribes in the north, people were so distracted that they didn't even care about it. And I think that that's what's going on right now. I think a lot of people are distracted, and I think that this is the beginning point when it comes to maximize your productivity is to have awareness that there is forces that are distracting you and to really maximize your time, energy, and attention correctly. And do not let these forces take away from your time and your productivity. So I'm gonna go ahead and pull up the whiteboard and jump into this presentation. So let's go ahead and get this going. So bear with me, guys. This is my first live stream, and like anything, the first time is the hardest, but we're just gonna keep pushing through and drop this content. All right, so let me go ahead and present this board. All right, guys. So hopefully you can see my screen here. Let's go ahead and jump in here. So here on the whiteboard, they're distracting you. Plato's allegory of the cave. So Plato's allegory of the cave, this was a teaching by Plato, a philosopher in ancient Greece. And I think he wrote it in the book, The Republic. Don't quote me on that. If anyone knows the exact name, drop it in the comments. But he came up with Plato's allegory of the cave. And I'll link some descriptions in the box below showing you better videos that explain it a lot better than I am about to. But Plato's allegory of the cave was essentially a teaching where Plato says that there was men that were chained in the bottom of a cave, and there were people with robes that they had a fire, they had torches, and they were displaying different images based off of those torches. So they would make shadows of the images, and the people would see whatever they wanted based off of those torches. So as you can see here, these guys on the bottom were chained up. Let me go ahead and pull up this little marker so I can show you. But these guys here on the very bottom here were chained up, and all that they knew was whatever they saw in front of them. So they would see these shadows, and they would interpret them in the way that they believed their perception was conveying to them. So these guys were using this fire here in the middle to create these illusions. And these guys, this was their entire reality until one day one of these guys broke free from this chain, and he climbed out of this cave. He came to the surface, and then he saw the sun, he saw the trees, he saw everything for the first time. And when he came up, that first instance that he saw the sun, it hurt his eyes because he wasn't used to this new reality. He thought that he thought that he was crazy, that he didn't understand what was real from what was false. And after a while, he started getting used to it. He got accustomed to it, and he started to see the beauty of reality, the trees, the mountains, the animals. What he decided to do was go back down into the cave, and he tried to free his comrades out here stuck in the cave. And when he tried to do that, his friends down here didn't like that because they thought that this guy was crazy. They thought that they thought that he was out of it. But they were so used to just seeing these pictures here on the wall that they couldn't comprehend the new world that this guy had just saw. And this is Plato's allegory of the cave is very symbolic as to what's going on today in our society. You hear it a lot, the term the matrix. What's the matrix? Why certain people are in the matrix, some people are not in the matrix. Andrew Tate talks about this a lot. And I'm pretty sure he got it from a book by MJ DeMarco, Unscripted. But the matrix is real, but it's not like this entity that's trying to purposely keep you trapped. It's just the way that society has unraveled itself throughout the years. And this is just how we've been programmed by human nature. So check out those links in the description. They'll do a better job of explaining what Plato's allegory of the cave is. But in my channel, I always reference the scrub. And the only reason I reference the scrub is because I've been in this position, man. Like I've been in the position where I've been broke. I didn't have like the best game when it came to talking with girls. I wasn't the strongest when I was younger. I wasn't hitting the gym as hard as I am now. And I've been in that position as a scrub. I know it probably pisses off a lot of people. Based off my comments, a lot of people get pissed off because I start off by calling people scrubs. But the only reason I say that, man, is it comes from love. It's like a big brother that's been through it. He understands the process. He understands the pain that comes from it, and it's just to put a little bit of fire under some asses to really step it up. But there's two type of people, right? There's a scrub and then there's the high level producer. And we want to be on this position of being that high level producer. You want to be over here. You don't want to be the scrub anymore. And it takes time. Like this is not something that happens overnight. You're gonna have to grind. You're gonna have to put in the work. But the reason why I like using the scrub and the high level producer is because it's a good reference of what you don't want to be and what you should aspire to be. You want to be on this position. And the scrub is always distracted. He's distracted by social media. He's doom scrolling through TikTok, YouTube, Shorts, and he's on Pornhub. He's just watching sports every weekend, keeping up with all these teams. He knows all the stats of every team, and he's like the expert, but he's not getting paid from knowing all of this information. And he's also chasing girls, or he might be stuck in vices. And like I said, guys, I've been in this position before. I've been distracted like this, but after realizing this, after really diving into this further, I knew that I had to cut out a lot of this bullshit. So the high level producer, on the other hand, what he tries to do is he focuses on what he controls. If he can't control politics, if he can't control what's going on in sports, he doesn't worry about it. He focuses on his training, he focuses on learning, and he focuses on growing. These are the main priorities that the high level producer is trying to accomplish. So the first thing is to question everything that you grew up with, all the habits that you have, your family history, your environment, your background. You need to question it, because when you start to question it, you start to you start to realize that there's a lot of gaps of what you learned. Like for example, for me, like, I'm a Mexican American. My parents were immigrants. They immigrated to the United States way before I was born, and they had a different view of personal finance than I did. They didn't really teach me entrepreneurship to the level that I'm learning it now. And after realizing that, I came to the conclusion that I really had to study. I really had to double down on my goals and my vision, because based off what I was taught, I wasn't going to accomplish it with that type of knowledge. I had to really seek out the knowledge that I was looking for. So question everything. Question your habits. Question how much you drink every week. Question how many times you're going to the gym. Question what type of food you're eating. The environment that you grew up with. If you have certain beliefs or views of the world based off your environment, that's all very important, because it's going to help you identify what could potentially be stopping your progress or distracting that productivity. So, jumping down here, the second thing is to understand who's controlling the narrative. So, control equals influence, and influence equals power. So, a lot of this influence comes from big companies that are lobbying and investing into the government. So they're trying to get the government to pass certain laws, pass certain regulations, so they can influence their control over the masses. Don't get me wrong, like I'm a big fan for capitalism, but there's certain things, certain agendas that certain companies have that don't benefit men, or they might not benefit women. They just want to maximize their profits as much as possible. So it's all fair game when it comes to capitalism. And you just have to be aware of what's going on. What's their agenda? Why are they promoting certain things? And a lot of the times it's just because of profit. Like I wrote down right here, the biggest reason that we're in the Middle East and we're involved so heavily in the Middle East is because there's oil, there's money. Money moves the world. There's a great saying that my mom used to say when I was a kid. She would say that con dinero baila el perro. And all that means, translated into English, is that with money, the dog dances. The dog even dances if there's enough money involved. So everything is about money because money influences control and it influences power. So a lot of companies, they're just trying to maximize profit as much as possible, but they don't really care, or they might not even have full awareness of what their agenda is, how their agenda is impacting society. So, for example, there has been proven through many studies that polyester, certain fabrics lower testosterone in men, like that spandex material. So they're making men weaker based off of this type of material in their clothing. So you just have to be aware of that. Like there's certain companies that are negatively impacting society, and they control the narrative because these companies pay salaries. So whatever that company wants to enforce, they'll enforce it on people, because if they don't abide by it, they can get fired, they'll get laid off, and they don't really have a say as to what that company's agenda really is. People just follow wherever the narrative is because they're getting paid from it. So, scrolling down here, the biggest distractions that we have is, like we mentioned, social media, clubs, going out, partying, sports, and politics. So, social media, you can go down a rabbit hole on social media just doom scrolling all fucking day. And then clubs, wasting your time and money on bottle service, if you're not at the point that you want to be at financially. And then finally, sports. This is probably the biggest one here. Sports is like that everyone that I grew up with, man, like they knew the stats of every single sports team from that city. And now that I'm in Colombia, like it even happens here. You see people here that are diehard soccer fans. But at the end of the day, man, you have to ask yourself, are you getting paid from knowing all this information, all these stats? If you're not, it doesn't benefit from you to put so much time and energy into that, because you're not going to get paid at the end of the day. You're just being distracted. You're not as productive as you should be. And with less productivity comes less resources for yourself. You're not maximizing yourself, putting that energy into making yourself stronger, getting more money, and leveling up your career. So the high level performer, he knows this, and he tries to produce 80% and consume only 20% of the time. So a big reason why I made this YouTube channel is because I wanted to be a producer. In this world, there's producers and there's consumers. You want to be a producer more than a consumer. If you're a consumer, you're just consuming things. You're just buying shit. You're wasting money. You're not wasting money, but you're spending money and you're not making any money. You want to be on this side of the coin, produce for these consumers. Instead of consuming 80% of the time and only producing 20% of the time, start looking at this as you're the producer and you're producing for these consumers. And with that comes sacrifice, because you're going to have to sacrifice certain weekends. You're going to have to sacrifice watching sports, watching all this bullshit that doesn't really help you. The high level producer only celebrates when it's deserved, when he lands a big contract, when he's making money, he meets a milestone in his progress. That's when he actually celebrates, and he enjoys sports with his friends and he actually plays them. So I grew up playing baseball. I love playing baseball. I play it on the weekends, and I'm always going to keep playing baseball. But that's the difference, because you want to be in a position when you play sports instead of just watching them and being a spectator on the sidelines. So this is just going to make you healthier. You're going to be training. You're going to be enjoying it with your friends. The high level producer also trains all the time and he eats healthy. He tries to fuel his body. And he understands that time is money and it shouldn't be wasted. So time is money. There's always an opportunity cost. Nothing in life is free. You're either spending money, that's the most visible one that you can see, but the ones that you can't see is your time, your energy, and your attention. And you only have so much of that. So whether you're watching a sports game, whether you're just going out for a couple of drinks, there's an opportunity cost to everything. And you really need to just outweigh, you have to weigh those benefits. You have to do that cost analysis if it's worth it spending that those resources on that activity. So the next thing is to feed your mind with rich sources. So the scrub, he feeds his mind with memes, with TV, with that P Hub, and it's not, these aren't rich sources of information. These are poor trash sources. Where the high level producer, on the other hand, he tries to read as many books as possible. He listens to podcasts on his free time when he's training in the gym, and he tries to surround himself with people that inspire him. So this is the difference from the sources of information, that the scrub has poor sources of information. He's wasting his time, and the high level performer is investing it into content that is actually going to level up his life. And then we jump into the next thing, which is that some people are going to understand you and some people aren't. And in Plato's allegory of the cave, he references to this when the guy goes to the top and he sees the sun for the first time. It hurts his eyes. And this is a great analogy to how this shit hurts, man. Like when you go through this process of self-awareness and you start to realize these things, one, it puts a fucking fire under your ass because you realize that you need to step it up. And if you keep following everyone else's sheep mindset, you're just going to end up as everyone else, just another fucking number in the pile. And through this process, you also might lose some friends and even some close family members because they don't understand your mission. They don't understand this new level of awareness that you've gotten to. You're going to be a reflection of what they should be doing as well. And some people are not going to like it. So you just have to be aware that you might lose some friends in the process, some fucking loser friends that they don't subscribe to the same mindset that you have or view of the world that you have. And you might also lose some girls. Like I've lost some girls in the process because they didn't understand this entrepreneurship mindset that I have. I didn't want to be an employee for all my fucking life. I wanted to start my own business, do my own thing. And through that process, there's a lot of sacrifice that's involved. And some people are just not going to understand that. So if you lose people in the process, it's just part of the game, man. Like this is just what comes with you trying to level yourself up. So some great books that talk about these concepts is MJ DeMarco's Millionaire Fastlane. This just talks about the mindset of entrepreneurship. It's a great book. I highly recommend this book. That's why it's the first one here on my list. But he really dives into how to start a business, a profitable business, what to expect while you're trying to start that business. The second book here is MJ DeMarco's Unscripted. This one's very similar, but this one focuses more on how everyone's in the rat race. When I'm back in the US, I can visibly see this. Everyone's in that rat race, 9 to 5, enjoy their weekends, and wait for that paycheck. This is the mindset that everyone has. And to be quite frank with you, everyone around the world has this mindset. Everyone around the world is following this narrative. Even here in Colombia, you can see it. In Mexico, I saw it. 9 to 5, bro. Like everyone's working at 9 to 5. At 9, everyone has to clock in, driving, commuting to work from 7 to 9. And then at 5, everyone's leaving work. And you just see these patterns. You start seeing these patterns so visibly amongst people. And these regular people are just following this mindset, like they're brainwashed to just follow it. They don't want to escape it. And that's what I think that is the matrix, which Andrew Tate always preaches about. But I think a lot of the concept that Tate got for his matrix theory comes from Unscripted. It comes from this book, Because if you read this book, everything that Tate talks about, you can find it in this book. And then the next book here is Matt Monero's You Need More Money. This is a great book on the mindset of just generating more money and how a lot of people are comfortable, but they're not at a good position to have like a healthy lifestyle, a good retirement. They're way below that marker. And it just really gives you a better perspective of how to level up your money faster. The next book we have here is Grant Cardone's The 10X Rule. And this book is just all about action. It really puts a fire underneath your ass, and it just really pushes you to put in more action into your goals. And then finally, Richard Cooper's Unplugged Alpha. This is probably one of my favorite books. This guy went through a lot of shit. He went through a divorce, and he talks about his experiences of following like this matrix mindset and how he broke out of it and how he sees life now. And this guy's a multimillionaire. He's a guy that I followed for a long time. I really look up to him, and it's a great book. So I highly recommend this one as well. And to close off this video, this first live stream, thank you for bearing with me, because this is the first live stream. And I know probably fucked up a lot of the key concepts, but it's part of the game. I got a meeting in like 5 minutes. But the biggest takeaway from this video is that this is a war, and you need to think about yourself as a soldier. As you're trying to escape from this fucking matrix, this brainwashing of society trying to distract your productivity, take away your most important resources, your money, energy, attention, and time. You need to be a vigilant soldier. Be aware of what this fucking matrix is trying to take away from you. And it's those most important resources. Once you have this perspective, it makes it easier to really discern on what you should be investing your time into and what you shouldn't be investing your time into. Fuck sports. I watch them every now and then, but it's not something that I'm like a diehard sports fan where I know every fucking stat. It's like I watch it when I have some downtime. I want to relax. I can watch a game, but don't go too far into the rabbit hole of becoming this puppet for the matrix where you just know all this different information, but it's not really benefiting you. You're not making more money. You're not leveling yourself up in the real world. You want to actually focus on the things that you can control. Your gym gains, your muscles, leveling up your career, leveling up your finances. These are the things that we need to focus on. So this is war, gentlemen. Think about yourself as a soldier and just stay relentless, stay vigilant, and focus your energy in the correct places. And we'll be talking about this a lot more in future videos, but I wanted to drop this first live stream on this topic because I think a lot of people are distracted, especially in the US. And this is what's pulling their attention away from the most important things that will level up your finances in your life. So there you have it, gentlemen. If you're new to the channel, make sure to hit that subscribe button. Also, make sure to give us a like. I'll catch you all in the next video. I'm about to jump into this next call. But stay strong, stay relentless, and keep on conquering. Shout out from Colombia. Peace.